everybody, welcome to Knockoff Rugby. The Springbok team has just been announced to take on Australia in Cape Town at the DHL Stadium this Saturday for the second test of their Rugby Championship campaign. So let's get into it, why don't we? The front row is Oxenchair, Malcolm Marx, and Thomas du Toit. Now, out of those three, Oxenchair and Malcolm Marx didn't have the greatest game in the first game. I suppose it was difficult for Ox to really make his mark. There wasn't much scrums, especially on our own ball. So I think it's okay. It's right to give them another chance. I still think they've got the power hold in terms of scrumming ability, and Malcolm Marx is probably going to be one of our only fetchers here in this game. So I think we do need him on the field. I know his line-out throwing was a bit questionable last week, but hopefully that gets a bit better. It could have just been like timing issues, call issues. So let's see how that goes this weekend. Then the interesting call on tight head is Thomas du Toit. So I didn't actually think he would play this weekend. I thought maybe he'd be on the bench, but I didn't think he'd start. But that's a really, I actually like that inclusion. I think he is a better, I know he can play both sides of the scrums, but I think he is a better tight head than he is a loose head. So you can cover both of them, I suppose, if we need to. I don't think we would. We've got a whole nother front row on the bench, but it's interesting because no one really knows where they see him. Do they see him as a loose head? Do they see him as a tight head? Where does he play better? He's more of a dynamic prop. He scores a lot of tries in the Premiership. I think he was one of the top try scorers in the Premiership. And one of the best players in the whole competition. So I think he deserves a spot. He's young enough to be there. He's sort of a in between in terms of a rookie and a old campaigner. He's been in the environment for a long time. He hasn't got that many caps, but he has been there. So that's good. And then the locks. The locks are Ruan Nokia and Erkje Snyman. I did actually call this in my last video when we spoke about the injuries. I called Mostert on the 7 flank as well. I think the 3 lock combo in terms of having one at flank and obviously your 2 4 and 5s, or your 4 and 5. I think that is they trying to give themselves more options. This is what my thought process when I was talking about it. They were giving themselves some more line-out options since the line-out went pretty badly. And I think with the weather coming in, guys, we're forgetting that it's probably going to rain on Saturday. With the weather coming in, I don't think we're going to see as many 4 or 5-man line-outs that we did in recent history with the Springboks. The Springboks lately like to launch for a 4 or 5-man line-out. It gives them a bit more options in midfield. However, I think this is going to be more tight carries, more mauling, more options in the line-out, fuller line-outs. Look, I know you could have included Vincent Tutuka, who really had a good URC campaign and really had a good debut with the Springboks as well. So I think he's probably a little bit unlucky to miss out. But I'm not upset. When I say upset, I can't be upset. But I think this is a good combo. I think Mostert has quite a engine on him, so he gets around to. I don't think he clears rucks as well as Siakalisi does, but and perhaps even Pieter-Steph du Toit. But he does get around the park, so let's see how he goes. I also don't think he's going to be playing the edges like Pieter-Steph du Toit did. So I think this is a very key selection in terms of how we're going to play. I have a feeling we're going to play much tighter. I think we're going to revert to type, and I actually think we're going to dominate this game. But anyway, I'll do a review and a prediction later on in the week. Then we've got Jean-Luc Dupree and Eskom, Marco van Staden. Now, Marco van Staden, I thought would definitely be in. I think we're running a bit low on six flanks. When I say 6 flanks, I mean the number 6 flank. So Siakalisi, I think, is still our premier guy, but with him out, it was only ever going to be Marco van Staden or maybe Kwagga Smith. But like I said, I don't think Kwagga Smith had a very good game last week. But they both had to swap quite often in terms of HIA, so there might have been some disturbance there. Although I don't think Kwagga can have too much of an excuse because that's his job. He comes off the bench to give impact. So he comes off cold, or comes on on the field cold most of the time. So yeah, but I like that. I like the back row. Are we missing a bit of brunt? I don't know. Jean-Luc maybe brings that. He's a big boy and he's a big carrier. I don't know if he's as mobile as what we want him to be, but maybe, like I said, maybe he's there for the brunt. So all in all, the pack looks decent. I like this pack. I think for the way we're going to play, I think it's a decent pack. I think it's certainly not our first stringer pack. One could argue maybe the front row, but I think Wilco still has a place in there. But it's definitely us. I don't want to say B team. I don't want to disrespect the players like this, but it's probably the players that are second in line in most of those positions. So, but I still think very strong and strong enough. Then we've got halfback pairings. We've got Handré Pollard, who I think was always going to come in after the Australian loss. This was it was a no-brainer. He needs to be able to control. I think Mani Lebok, although he came out of the block starting well last week, I think he lacked control when the game got tough. Handré Pollard is going to bring that for us, and he's going to play the high balls. He's going to play the territory, and he's a big carrier actually as well. If we need to keep it tight, then we've got Grant Williams. Grant tried to look. His box kicking was on point, so I actually think that's also why he's still there. His box kicking last weekend was absolutely incredible. Why they did not use that more, I don't know. But yeah, I like the halfback pairings. I think Grant deserves another shot, and I think Handré is going to bring that stability. Then we've got the tried and tested midfield of Damien de Allende and Jesse Creel. Jesse Creel, I think, perhaps shied away a little bit in terms of leadership on Saturday. And I think he said that himself after the game. He said that they had no business throwing those type of passes around, and he was one of the more experienced players, and he should have been there calming things down and pointing the team in the right direction. You can't blame him at all, but he took a lot of that on his shoulders, and I respect him for that, and I like that they've gotten back to the World Cup winning combination. It's a tried and tested combination, so I think we're going to be strong there. I think our defense is going to be far better. Dukes is a really good carrier, but he's got really good hands. So, like I said, I'm not sure the hands is going to count for anything this weekend other than catching the ball if it's wet. If it's dry, then a lot of my predictions could be out the window. If it's dry, then I don't know about this side. This seems like a more, although one could argue with Adhir, his offloading ability with Mostard's engine, maybe things can happen, So, but I do think it might be wet. That's what the forecasts are saying anyway. So let's see what happens. Then we've got Cheslin Colby, Kanan Moody, and Willie Leroux. Now, Willie Leroux was one that I thought that we wouldn't be giving a shot in terms of the starting 23. Not because I don't like him. I just didn't think that. I thought they were going to try and start passing the torches to the younger guys. I thought it was going to be Fussy again and Willemse. The only changes I thought would happen there they would either be swapped. One being Fussy on the bench and then Willemse starting this time around. But I think they might be thinking we need some more control in the field. Nothing beats experience. Rassie has said that a lot. Nothing beats experience. But there has to be a time where we've got to start, blooding some players. So I'm not sure. I'm in two minds about Willie Leroux. But I understand perhaps after last weekend why they've brought him through. Then you've got Manus van der Merwe, Wilco Low, and Bowen Venter all on the bench. That's our second front row that's going to be coming on. It's pretty strong. Bowen Venter's had a reasonable start to his Springbok career. Nothing special yet, but he's been solid every time he's come on. Manus van der Merwe, he's also same thing. Nothing special yet, but growing. Wilco Low, we all know what he can do, and I think that the point there is coming on late in the second half, and just when there's lots of scrums, when there's more tired hands, dropping balls, and just getting those scrum penalties, trying to get us over the line. Then you've got Evan Etzebeth, Luther Jager. Those are our two lock pairings. It's another lock pairing that we're going to probably see in the 50th minute, and very strong, very very strong. Luotiaga struggled in the first game. I think he needs to pick it up a little bit. Yibben was exceptional in open play and exceptional in the carries, but we lost a couple of lineouts. So yes, so we'll see how that goes. I do believe that those guys are still our premier locks, um, but they need to pick their game up. Quagga Smith completes the forwards on the bench, and it is by the way, guys, a 6-2 split, which I thought was going to happen as well. I think we're going to revert to type, like I've said. So we needed the extra forward on the bench. Then we've got Kobus Reinach and Sasha Feinberg and Gomazulu. Sasha FM, everyone's go-to guy at the moment. He's being compared to a young Dan Carter. I think a lot of hype has been placed on this young man's shoulders. I do hope that doesn't get to him and derail him slightly. He seems like a very down-to-earth guy, and he's extremely talented. What he does in the URC sometimes is exceptional. However, he does have off games, and I think he needs to find that balance. And once he does, he's going to be a force in world rugby, not only Springbok rugby. Kobus Reinach, I wasn't sure about Kobus Reinach when he got selected in the initial squad. I think it's time to move on. He's 35 years old. I don't think he's making it to the next World Cup, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Guys have often, well, not often, but there's been a couple of guys that's been 37 at the World Cup, at recent World Cups. So, but I do think that we could have given Krappies a go this weekend. So that's a contentious one for me. But all in all, I think in terms of what we're going to try and do, I think we've got a bit of a balance here. I think we're going back to type, as I've said multiple times. And yes, and you can see it by the selections. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening. If you like this channel and you like the content, please like and subscribe. And leave a comment. I will reply to every comment that I can. Enjoy. Cheers.